Hey, YouTube, Scarpad's Comic Treks with you. Another Scarpad's Sojourns, Sci-Fi Sojourns, bringing you all sorts of good movies we're talking about with interesting people. And tonight we have one of the best movies, the most highly regarded movies of 1956 to be exact, called Forbidden Planet. Forbidden Planet was a hallmark movie of the 50s. And before we bring in my co-host and special guest star, let's give you a little information on this movie. This movie starred Leslie Nielsen, Walter Pidgeon, and Anne Francis, and it came out in 1956. Now, Forbidden Planet was shot, one of the first movies, sci-fi movies shot in CinemaScope, ultra widescreen. It was loosely based on a story from William Shakespeare called The Tempest, and it was first sci-fi movie with an all electronic score, something that you didn't see back in the 50s, and the score was pretty amazing. This is the first film that humans were displayed being out there going faster than light in a spaceship that they designed, something that you would see repeated in a later series. This is the first movie where a robot, Robbie the robot specifically, had a personality, wasn't just a robot, an automaton, and really led the way for like things like C-3PO and R2-D2 several years down the road. It was nominated for Best Visual Effects at the 29th Academy Awards, and these animated effects were done by Disney Studios. And this really served as a template for Star Trek. In 1966, Gene Roddenberry used a lot of ideas and stuff from this movie. For example, the uniforms, very reminiscent of the Starfleet uniforms. The ship's decelerator, when they get into slow down from faster than light speed travel, looked a heck of a lot like a transporter. The relationship between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy was really echoed here by the commander, the doctor, and the first lieutenant. Then there was also a whiz-bang miracle working engineer played by Richard Anderson. That was, you could see echoes of Scotty in that. And it was the first techno horror film, that being a film that had technology, in this case, technology, machines from a long dead alien civilization bringing to light the monster in the film. So a lot of firsts in this movie. In 2013, it was added to the National Registry as one of the 100 important movies in American cinema. So let's bring in my co-host and also big fan of science fiction, Dylan from Dylan's Horror Show. How you doing, Dylan? Hey, I'm doing all right. Now, Perry was supposed to join us tonight, and Perry had a power outage for the last few hours, so he's going to try to hop in here if he can and share his thoughts on the movie. So you heard some of my setup there, Dylan. This was 1956. I'll give you some of the ideas, some of the things I like about the movie. I fell in love with this movie, of course, being a big Star Trek fan. And when I saw this first in the 70s, this is a movie that was on TV a lot in the 70s. And then I was actually able to see a 70 millimeter projection of this in a theater, an old fashioned theater, on a really big screen. But just the effects and the music, the effects being gorgeous, a lot of painted matte paintings once again, like we saw in This Island Earth last week. We see in this movie, but this movie did a lot better implementation of the cast into those matte paintings. I mean, you would swear that the crew members were on the planet. And then it had the robot, and it had elements of horror. So I absolutely love this film. So Dylan, this first time you see this movie?
I know about Robbie the Robot, but yeah, first time I've ever seen the whole movie.
And this movie played a lot in other movies. Halloween had this movie as one of the things that we're watching. Whenever they're showing things on Halloween night, usually Forbidden Planet is one of the movies they're watching. So what did you think, Dylan?
Dude, I freaking loved it, man. I think it's probably my favorite out of the three movies you've had us do. I think just overall it had the best story, which I think that's what makes it better. Like the other ones, story is not the biggest thing about it. It's more like the effects and the cinematography and the music. But this just hit it on all the all the nails it hit. The story is good. It kept me intrigued the entire time because there's a mystery going on. You're like trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So that Dr. Morbius or whatever he is, Morbius, he's definitely hiding something. He's got this gorgeous freaking daughter that walks around in like barely any clothes. You get freaking Robbie the robot, which he looks incredible, man. And then just the little driver that he like connects to, and then they ride on the back of, like, that just looks so good, man. The ships like when they're flying in space, the music is fantastic.
And the
characters are real good in this.
The movie had a lot of good humor to it too. The cook, who was played by Earl Harmon, really broke it up. I love when he's getting the whiskey.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, dude, 160 gallons of whiskey.
60 gallons. He puts it in there. He's analyzing it, and it burps. Robbie the robot burps as he's putting it in. Which was a nice touch. And there was a lot of humor. Even Robbie the robot got some good lines in the movie.
Dude, I can't believe how good they did with him too. He looks great.
Yeah,
that'd have been a hard suit to walk around in.
Yeah, and this was the first. After he made this movie, because on this disc, which is right now the Blu-ray of this, there's also a movie from 1957 called The Invisible Boy, and he figures prominently in that movie too, Robbie the robot. And then of course he shows up. He shows up in at least one Lost in Space episode where he actually fights the robot in the Lost in Space robot in one of the shows. So, but he's been very well known. And of course,
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude, you just see that toy.
Now, therefore, gentlemen, I am to transport you to the residence.
So.
That's a dope figure to have, man. I want that now.
Yeah, that came out for $20 at Walmart. Now it's like
I remember when you got it because
now it's well over
giant too.
Yeah, it's well over $200 to get that because it's out of.
Is it? I should have got it, man. Damn.
They had this one, and they had the Iron Giant, which I think the Iron Giant I should have gotten that one too.
And that one's worth money too now.
Yeah, they're both out of print.
Damn, I wanted that Iron Giant too, and I wanted that too, but
check your Walmarts because sometimes Walmart still has them up on the rafters. So check it next time you go in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think, and I love the fact that this movie. I mean, for a long time. Leslie Nielsen, who played the commander in this movie, was a straight dramatic actor. It wasn't until Airplane and Naked Gun that he went into comedy.
I didn't even know. I forgot he was in this.
And you see what a great actor he is because, man, he didn't do a comedy.
Who is he? The main guy?
Yeah, the captain. That's Leslie Nielsen.
Dude, and don't recognize him.
Yeah, and
without the white hair.
Yeah, and he was so good in that comedy. It just shows how good of an actor he is.
He's great.
And the guy who played the second lieutenant was the guy who was in Maverick, which was a old Western show with James Garner. And the doctor was in a couple Star Trek episodes. He's been in a bunch of different things. So these are all actors.
I love the ending when he dies.
Which one is he?
Morbius. When Morbius dies at the end, he's just like, he's like in mid-sentence. I just love that. Literally, my girl walked down for the last 10 minutes, and she was like, did he just die there? And I was like, I think he did. I was like, I was waiting for him to say another word, but he was done.
And then the doctor, he died. He tried the brain boost, and and that killed him. But I love the whole part where they're going through the old Creel. I think was it Creel? That wasn't Creel. I can't think of it.
That's what their names are, the Creel.
It was the Creel, yeah.
The Krell or whatever.
The Krell. Hey, Funk Comics, how's it going? Two Gun Pedro station, man.
Station, brother.
So I love that. And they go into the doorways are shaped like the aliens, and they go into that big area where they're walking across the bridge. That was done. That looked phenomenal. This was made in 1956.
Dude, it looks so damn good. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And this movie did have a lot of elements of not only sci-fi but horror in it. That monster was, down dirty. That was a monster. went in there that while they were sleeping, invisible, and then you saw them in the end when they're shooting them through the force fields and all that. So you had the monster, you had the spaceships, you had the women swimming naked, you had the captain, all that stuff was just fantastic. But you mentioned, I mean, the story itself, which was loosely based on a William Shakespeare play, but it was also based on a short story, and it was very pulpy for that 1950 when science fiction was coming out mainly in magazines.
Yeah, those pulp magazines.
The pulp magazines. It was very pulpy, and I love that aspect of the story. Had a good story because, as
It really did.
This Island Earth had an okay story. I think better than a lot. But this really, the whole mystery and the whole fact that these people died out and it was nothing but the scientists' insecurities that killed everybody.
Yeah,
Because he didn't want to lose his daughter, and he didn't want to leave the planet, and that just killed the entire.
It talks
crew.
about a big thing too, where Robbie would say what this means is, kind of how everyone has kind of that dark side that, that's what the commander keeps telling, or the captain keeps telling Morbius. He's like, it's your sight, it's just like your conscious that's created this monster, and you're the side of you that is kind of like that wants you to keep his daughter all to himself. All those insecurities he has. That's what brings out that monster.
Yeah, and every time that he goes to sleep, the monster from his subconscious comes out and does his bidding.
Yeah,
and goes in and destroys the equipment or kills somebody. That was just done so really well. Now, obviously, being the 1950s, we had to kind of shoehorn in, the captain and the daughter getting in, falling in love there.
Yeah.
And that's reminiscent to what happened on Star Trek. Kirk was always bagging the girl of the week, and
right.
And but even that was done, fairly well, where it wasn't really a hindrance to the story. It was in there, but
yeah,
it wasn't really a hindrance to the story.
Well, at first, because I had a feeling that they were gonna like each other, but it's funny because at first he's like coming off as like a dad, where he's like,
he was kind of a dick.
What are you wearing? Like, what
Yeah.
do you? He's like, do you have any other clothes? Like,
Yeah, well, it was also
you're not coming off as a guy that's got the hots for her, but
yeah, it was also the 1950s.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, he also was just probably like, it's the 1950s, so he's saying like, he likes her, but he's also like, why? He's like, you don't need to be running around with my entire crew. He's like, you can just come hang with me. You know what I mean? And make sure you're gonna be around my crewmates. Make that skirt a little lower.
Yeah. He didn't want the other guy doing it, but he stepped right in. And
I know. Oh, he was like, get the hell out of here, man! You got some work to do, don't you?
Yeah.
He's like,
get on that, man.
He's like, you're a little too busy. He's like, but I got plenty of free time.
Yeah. But the doctor was cool. I loved the engineer played by Richard Anderson from $6 Million Man, of course, Bionic Woman. He was just. He was Scotty. Basically, he could fix anything. That's what he said. Can you fix this? Well, this is impossible. Well, if I don't stop to have breakfast, it'll be done in a couple of hours. Yeah. He was good. He got killed off way too early. I wish he kind of survived. Just the fact they had that whole crew, and I love the scene where they go in to decelerate and they have to get in the tubes while they're slowing down. That was done really well. Just everything about this movie really stood out as being one of, there's 2 or 3 other movies in the 50s.
It's crazy. It's 56, man, because it just like, all the, what were the last 2 movies? Those were about 50s as well.
55, and Baba was in the 60s. The Play of the Vampires in the 60s.
Well, you just got, from what we watched last time, it's like, it's just a huge step up from the story. It's like, okay, they were like, okay, so we could, because the 55 was last week's show. So they're like, so they saw what they could do, and they're like, but we can elevate the story. We don't have to have just a beautiful looking movie and cool, like a cool robot or whatever. They're like, we could actually do a really cool story with this. And I think they did great, man. I love the entire mystery about it, because you think maybe it's something with the doctor. Then you're thinking maybe it did, like, somehow did one of these Krell survive, and is that what's killing them? You really, they do pretty good at the mystery for you to keep.
Right, you're thinking when he makes that big footprint out of plaster there, that's one of the Krells. That's really
Exactly,
one of the
yeah.
monsters. But it wasn't. It was just something that he
created on his own. Because at first there was some, I was confused at first, thinking that like when the captain's like explaining to the doctor, or fucking what is his name, Morbius, what's going on, I thought he was saying that somehow Morbius had brought one of the Krell back to life or something, and now that was like starting the off breed again and start like evolving them or something. But I guess that he just created some monster of his own.
Yeah, when he, in his subconscious became the monster.
Because I guess he was saying that the Krell could advance, so it's like, why couldn't he advance his brain like they did? Because obviously, when those guys started on the machine, they're like, I'm super smart. Why isn't mine as good as Morbius's? Because he had been doing this for a while and he'd been raising his brain, But even then, he said, like, why didn't I see this coming? And he's like, he was just blinded by his own, just his own rage and everything.
No one thinks of the monster. They always think that the good
Exactly. No one thinks of the monster. Everyone thinks of the good guy, and that's exactly what he thought. He was blinded by his own, by his own like little devil on his side,
Mm-hmm. But then, as I said, at the end, they end up destroying the planet, and get the girl, and they rescue the robots on the ship now. So
yeah, now they got that. Now they're good with that.
Now they got booze, man. All they want, anytime they want booze.
They should have had a trilogy.
But
Robbie the Robot could have really brought it out into. He could have been an icon.
Yeah, I forget somebody bought that actually original suit for close to like $1 million or something like that because it was still around.
That's crazy.
The robot suit.
That'd be cool.
So basically, exactly, OCD. So look, we touched upon it, but the special effects and the music. I mean, unusual to hear a musical score that's all electronic, really ahead of its time.
Yeah.
All the background stuff electronic, all the theme, the opening and closing theme electronic, and they did it really well. I mean, it adds a layer of like strangeness to the movie,
Oh yeah.
It really added to that, and then the special effects, once again, as I said, not only was that ship done well, but the way they integrated all the live action into, some of that stuff was a set, but the way they integrated the sets and the people into the matte paintings, very tough to spot. The whole scene where you mentioned it, the robots taking the people back, driving like a bat out of hell. You can see the dust raising up. Kind of reminded me of the scene in Star Wars with Luke and the hover car thing they're riding in the beginning of the movie in Tatooine, with the dust coming up.
Yeah, it looks incredible, man.
And definitely the robot was a precursor. You never had robots with personality before. That was really the first time that really happened. So I mean, top notch special effects. And then, as I said, back whenever this showed on TV too, in the 70s, everybody forgets TV in the 70s. You weren't alive in the 70s, but you were alive at the tail end of it. Was square. It was a 4:3. It wasn't 16:9. So anytime you saw these old movies, at least now you're living in an era where, if you watch an old movie, it's in widescreen. You're seeing the whole movie, and they show it in widescreen. But back, as early as like 15 years ago, everything was being shown full frame. Yeah. So a movie like this, which was shot in 70 millimeter, very wide, gets cut off, and you're seeing very little of the movie left. They would either stick the camera straight on this way, so you saw nothing but the middle of the movie, or occasionally they would do what they call a pan and scan, where they would go this way and go this way, and you'd see the camera kind of moving, but you never saw it. So when I went to see this in the 70s, I saw the whole movie for the first time in widescreen. It was amazing because there's so much of the movie that gets cut off when you watch it on when you used to watch it on television. So that was phenomenal. Let's talk about, as you said, the cast, your favorite character, and what you thought of the different casts.
Well, first off, my favorite character would probably be Robbie the robot. But if we're not, I'll say he's just
you can say
incredible. But I'll say Robbie, and then I'm gonna say one of my humans. But he's gonna be pretty obvious, or he or she, you never know. But Robbie the robot, just like you said, first that actually had real lines. That was an actual character instead of just like a side thing that looked cool. He's great, man. I love that he's just like beeping and booting, just like the whole thing. Even when he's just standing there, he's like running, and you see all the stuff moving, the lights going. It looks so good, man. I really wish I would have got that little figure that you got now, man. That thing is cool, dude. That sucker is cool, man.
Welcome to Altair 4, gentlemen. I am to transport
Oh,
you to
man.
the residence.
And then,
it'd be nice if everything spun around. Like you look, and they did a great job in that robot, because if you look inside the helmet, all that shit's
moving.
spinning and moving.
That's what I'm saying. Even when he's just standing there, it's all moving. I'm like, this is really fucking good, man. It's like they had mechanics and everything going for that thing.
Yeah.
I'd say favorite characters, it's like a tie between the captain and the woman. The woman just because she's so damn hot, but really the captain is the best just because, even for him not being a genius like Morbius was, he said, he's like, you don't got to be smart. You just got to have a loud voice, he was the one who figured it all out, man. So, it's not always about that IQ, you know what I mean? But
yeah, and most of these actors really weren't, genre actors. They were serious actors. Leslie Nielsen was always a villain in all the movies.
Really?
He was always a bad guy. So this was one of the first movies where he played a hero or a good character. Anne Francis was in a lot of movies as a singer, dancer. And Walter Pidgeon was probably the biggest actor they had here, the biggest name. Walter Pidgeon was Morbius was really big in the 40s and 50s. He was a ton of movies, and he also played. He played in some science fiction too. He was the lead in Voyages of the Bottom of the Sea, which was the movie that the TV show eventually got based on. He was the lead character in that. And I'd say to me, he was the gravitas of the movie Morbius, because everything stemmed from his character, and he played that really, really well. From the open where he's telling the guy, that whole scene where you don't know what the fuck's going on, and he goes, stick your hand in that disintegrator, and he goes, point this at the cap. Okay, pull the trigger. No one knows what the fuck's going on. They all stand there. They all got their hands on their guns ready to shoot. And from that scene, and then the scene he did later on, when everything, Walter Pidgeon, I think, is my favorite character. Morbius is my favorite character next to Robbie.
He's fantastic, man. Honestly, there's not a bad character in the film.
No. Even Will Holloman, who plays the cook, he's great.
He's hysterical, man.
I love the scene where he's got all the pans on him, and the captain has the magnet sucking.
Yeah, and then his ass, it's from his ass. And he's like, "Put me down," and he's just hanging from his ass.
The whole crew in this had great rapport. They all making fun of that guy. But they seem like we were on the ship together for the last year. The guy got shit-faced fucking drunk and left, and even the captain didn't bust him or nothing. He just said, okay.
Yeah.
But there was really a bad character in there. Was a lot of and they had a lot of extras, so it looked like it was a ship populated by a bunch of different crewmen. As I said, this was the first one where the humans flew the ship, and the humans had the flying saucer, because before that it was always aliens and a flying saucer.
Yeah. And
here they have a flying saucer, so I thought that was pretty incredible. So that's really I got to say about that. I guess we can rate it in a second, but overall, I guess give your final thoughts on that movie, how you feel now, and just something you'd watch again.
Oh, dude, I straight up, I would watch this again. I'd like to get it for the collection. I'm not sure. I don't think you'd sent me this one, unless it's maybe on one of them Sci-Fi.
No, this is. I think you can. This is a Warner disc. I think you can still get this.
Probably.
It's not that expensive. It's like $12, and this has a lot of extras on it. This has got deleted scenes, lost footage, It's got the other movie, The Invisible Boy, that had Robbie the Robot on it. So it's
Oh,
got
nice.
another movie on this. It's got documentary about the movie itself. It's got 2 featurettes. It's got excerpts from MGM Parade TV series, which had Robbie the Robot on it. So it's a good disc. The only thing that would make this better is I'm waiting to get this in 4K. I'm hoping they
Yeah.
put out a 4K, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that. So
Yeah.
if you can pick up this disc, I'd say grab it. It's a great.
That thing looks great from what it looks like a great shot. I love it.
Yeah.
I love all the still paintings, or those are absolutely gorgeous. Just like we said, the characters are just all good, man. It's rare where you're like, I didn't really care for him, but everybody works really good together, man. You got some of those animals in this, because they talk about the Krell visiting Earth at one point, and they're like, well, that's how they brought the animals
That's right. Yeah.
over, and that was
Yeah, you're
really
wondering how
cool.
they had the tiger and all that.
There's even there's some Prometheus stuff in there, like where these Krell came from, and that maybe they kind of help start planet Earth or whatever. But yeah, thanks to Gun Dude. I think that I just put them up before the show too. Once I get my other frames, I'll have the rest of the line, the rest of that wall filled up with some Halloween posters. Can't wait, man. Thanks,
ship
buddy.
the camera, but they look good.
Hell yeah, dude. What did you say?
I said, but they look good. You have to shift the camera a little bit once you get the ones on the other side, so you can.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
you
like
can
that.
see them all.
Yeah.
God,
I will. But yeah, man, I think Leslie Nielsen is great in this. The robot is so damn good. Morbius is just fantastic because he's kind of got that look where you're like, this motherfucker's up to something. You know what I mean? But he really wasn't. He was, but he wasn't in a way because he
didn't realize he was doing it until the end, and then he realized what he was doing. So yes, he was technically the villain, kind of.
Yeah.
But that was all.
And even that monster is pretty cool. You don't see much of it, but you see the foot, and that looks awesome.
Well, you also saw when
you see it in like
the outline, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
That they chose to use. Of course, back then you had no computers.
Right.
You either had to do practical effects, which is probably expensive as hell.
Oh my god.
Or do what they chose to do, which is they turned to animation. And you could tell that very Disney, because Disney did do the animation for that monster.
Yeah.
That monster was all Disney. And it looks like something that came out of Disney.
I see it. Yeah.
But it really looked good. It was really done really well.
It really is. Yeah.
And
that's
then,
cool
course,
that Disney did that.
Yeah, and to save money, obviously they made him invisible. You can't see him. That helps to save a little bit. You saw the footprints, and it was cool when he was walking the ship, and the ship stairs were bending, being depressed,
collapsing.
Yeah, collapsing. So that was all done really, really well.
Yeah.
So I mean, overall, I think this movie's the entire package. I mean, it's one.
It really is.
If somebody asked me, what's my favorite movie of this era, the 50s and 60s, Forbidden Planet would be my number one movie because it really was the pinnacle of science fiction. That's kind of like why I wanted the first few shows to get on and do something that is classic. And it's this movie, as I said, it helped to set up Star Trek and Star Wars, and it influenced a lot of stuff that came after it. So it was a very influential movie when it came to science fiction.
Yeah.
And that's I love the bug-eyed monster movies. I love things like Tarantula and stuff like that. But it's nice to see a movie that from this era that had a story to go with the monster and the effects. So for me, without a doubt, I'm going to rate this five phasers. Because it had it all.
The phasers were awesome in this too.
Yeah, they had the boop, 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 the pew pew guns for two.
And then
two gun Pedro would love that.
Tiger out.
They had that little thing where you shoot in the wall. Boop, boop,
yeah.
Boop, boop, boop. But then the monsters on the outside coming through it. But yeah, for me all day, this is a 5-phaser movie. I mean, it's really up there. It's the tops of science fiction. So what do you give it for a rating?
Dude, for it being in the 50s, for everything, for it hitting like every nail on the head, with just the way it looks, the cinematography, the robot, the story being just damn good. You know what I mean? I give it a 5 all day, man, because it also has like, it's a sci-fi movie, but there's hints of horror in this, man. Where I was like,
It's definitely
this
Horror
would
the
have been a
Monster.
scary. This would back in the 50s. This would have been a scary movie for somebody to go
Yeah.
see.
Yeah,
You
there
know
was,
what I mean?
there was
This
a
would have
lot
been
of,
really a really cool mystery. You know what I mean?
as we said, this was the first movie that had what they called techno horror. There's a lot of them in the 70s.
Yeah,
Where the
dude,
computer
I
was the
love the
bad guy.
opening. I absolutely love the opening.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is techno horror because it was the machines from the dead civilization causing the problem. And they had that, in the 70s, they had a lot of these type of movies where the machines go wild and cause all sorts of problems. So it had a horror element on it, and it had, it had a very Twilight Zone vibe.
Yeah.
You could see a lot of Star Trek in it, but if you watch, there's a lot of episodes of Star Trek. Twilight Zone, where they're stranded on asteroids or they're on a spaceship and their crew. And I think Twilight Zone is a few episodes where they actually borrowed this effect of the
Really?
ship, of the saucer. And it may have been, I think, the episode from Twilight Zone, if you remember, with a woman, the old woman in the farmhouse with the little tiny robots attacking her.
Yeah.
I think they used the spaceship that the robots are in was that spaceship, the C-57
Really?
Cruiser. Yeah.
Did they just make it black and they turned it to black, the film to black and white, right?
Right. Well, yeah. No, because they used the model. So remember in that story that the spaceship landed in the barn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember that? And the
Yeah.
robots coming out of it. They had the model, but that was that model.
Oh, yeah.
And the little robots were coming down the thing there.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
used a lot of this because MGM and Twilight Zone were the same studio. So
There's even a picture of Rod Serling with Robbie the robot.
right. And a lot of the sci-fi stuff. This really reminds me. It had that vibe of Twilight Zone, a little off, not really sure what's going on, the music.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hell yeah.
hopefully when we get the Twilight Zone, we're hoping to get a Twilight Zone show up started at some point where we're talking about and go through the entire series of Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to look and compare some of that stuff to this movie.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I love Twilight Zone so much. Yeah, dude, it's a great sci-fi techno horror movie, dude. It's really good, man. Worth watching, no doubt, man. It's really cool.
Keep your expectations. This movie's firmly planted in the 50s, but it's ahead of its time in a lot of ways.
Honestly, I almost thought it could have been like late 60s, almost to the 70s. It's like, it seems like a movie that might have came out in 68 or something. It's very ahead of its time.
Well, and the one thing you did mention, and I would say even over last week's movies, this movie's paced very well.
Perfectly.
It's about an hour and 40 minutes, but it never gets boring.
Not at all. And I was worried at first. I was like, oh, this is hour 40? But I was not. I was into it the entire time.
They have some scenes of humor to break up the story. They had some romance to break that up. So the story was always
tomfoolery between the ship and the crew.
So they had a lot to really make it seem to go a lot faster. So it's not a stagnant movie. It's not a boring movie. So
yeah,
I would recommend it. And you can see. I think it's up on Amazon. It's around.
Yeah, definitely.
We can definitely see it. So 5, and what did you give it for? You gave it a 5, right? So 5.
It's a perfect film, man. And so many people have tried to imitate what is imitate it. It's great. So
yeah, as I said, it's influenced a lot of different.
So far, I'd say my freaking favorite out of the 3 that we've done, without a doubt, man. Even though I liked it, I loved the way the 2 came before, dude. I really enjoyed this, man. It blew me away.
Yeah, I like this.
I wish Perry could have been here, man. I think he would have really freaking loved this, man.
Yeah, my guess.
I'm sure he did. Well, I'm sure he did love it.
Yeah, Perry did like it. We'll have to ask him if he comes on next week's show.
Yeah.
What he thought of this. We'll give him 5 minutes to talk about this one since he watched it. And I sent him a screen pass and he ended up not using it. he bought the rental. So
Did he? Oh my
he
God.
paid for it, but what can you do if your power goes out? Your
You
power
might
goes
as
out.
well just cancel. Oh man, and he paid for it. You might as well just cancel it so you keep your screen pass.
I think they just run out maybe for whatever.
I think they run out. You get like 3 a month or something.
Yeah, but yeah. So next week to finish out the month of November is jumping ahead a little bit to the 80s, 1985, I think it was.
Oh yeah. Is it
For,
what I think it is?
for the Last Starfighter.
Oh, dude, I
And
don't own that on Blu-ray. I need to freaking get that
oh yeah,
Arrow.
you gotta get the Blu-ray, man. It's
Dude,
out there. It's
that's
around.
Nick Castle, baby.
Yeah, I think I got the Kino Lorber one. The Kino
Oh, you
Lorber
do?
Blu-ray.
I didn't know Kino did one.
Yeah, Kino put it out. Yeah.
I know Arrow had a regular Blu-ray. Is it 4K?
No, it's only a Blu-ray.
It's
It's not out in 4K, but yeah, 1985 or 86 or 84, somewhere in that area. The
With
Last
Nick Castle
Starfighter,
directorial debut.
Nick Castle directorial debut. Lance Guest, who's been in a bunch of stuff, was the star, and it's kind of a video game related movie, although the video game came after the movie.
Yeah.
After the movie got popular and did well in the theaters, the video game came out and actually went into arcades, not the other way around. So it's technically not based on a video game, but the video game that's in the movie became a video game.
Based off.
But it has Robert Preston in it, who's really good, and some really great practical creatures and effects. So that's next week, The Last Starfighter, to round out the month. And then coming in the month of December, which isn't that far away. And some of the dates might get mixed up, so we're not going to tell you the dates exactly, but we'll tell you what the movies are. We're going to be doing Pandorum from 2009 with Dennis Quaid, a movie that I haven't seen that I've been wanting to watch. So this
I don't know if I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, Pandorum. And it's kind of like a Event Horizon meets Alien sort of movie.
Oh,
and then
wait.
That's from 2009, Pandorum. Then we're gonna be doing Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange, which is an interesting movie.
4K while it's cheap.
And then we'll also be doing another Kubrick film, of course, the big one, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Dude, nice! I can't wait for that one. I haven't seen that in a long time.
And then rounding things out will be from 2005, I believe, Children of Men with Clive Owen, which is a dystopian science fiction film. So that's our 4 films coming up in December. Should be interesting, and we have a pretty wide variety. Trying to mix it up a little bit here. Ender's Game, that's a possibility. That was with Harrison Ford, I believe. One of those movies that was based on a novel. I know a lot of people love the novel, didn't care for the movie all that much, but I didn't read the novel, so I won't have much of a. I remember watching it, and I thought it was pretty good when it came out.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility. Definitely looking to do Buckaroo Banzai maybe in January. That's
heck yeah
on the list. That's one of my favorite all-time science fiction
movies.
You
want to get to that soon.
Number 1 for me.
Yeah.
So we got some good ones coming up. So if you guys want to see us talk about that stuff, hopefully with a few more people on the panel, like and subscribe and share and everything. And we'll always try to be out of here before Robbie comes on. Now Robbie's doing a second
Godfather 2.
Godfather 2, which a lot of people consider to be the best. A lot of people think that's the best of the Godfather movies.
It's so tough. It's so hard for me to pick. I love them.
I almost would say I do agree. I think it is because I love they have the 2 stories going with De Niro and Pacino. To me, I think it nudges out Godfather.
In a way, they have 2 stories going in one though too, because it's the father and then you got Michael getting his start. But it's more distinctly 2 stories in part 2.
The flashback, and
it's
pretty interesting.
It's insane.
I would say it's very tough. They're both really, really good. So
Without a doubt, man.
So Robbie's going to be doing that. I know. I think Perry is supposed to be doing that tonight, so hopefully we'll get his power back on before that comes up at 9:00. And then what do you have coming up? Well, I forget. What are we doing next week on?
We got next week coming. Oh my God, why do I always forget what we're doing? It's we got Blood Rage, the Thanksgiving slasher,
which I don't have. I'll have to find somewhere because I haven't seen it. So
you don't have this?
I do not have that, but I know I think it's available up on Shudder.
I was gonna say it used to be on Shudder. I don't know if it still is, but
and Dylan has told me
that's why I wish I could. Like I need to be able to like burn these onto our Plex. So it's stuff that you don't have and I do.
There's not a killer turkey in that, in my understanding. So
sadly, no.
It just sounds like it happens.
It's on Tubi, but Scarpad don't want to watch it on Tubi.
If I have to, I'll if I have no other choice. But the commercials,
I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can find.
I have that feeling I might be able to find it.
I'm sure you can find a copy because I know you don't want to watch no commercials. I don't want, and plus I feel like that ruins every time people watch it with commercials. They like it less than I feel like they normally would because they're just.
Tubi used to show like. Tubi used to be pretty good. You would get a commercial at the beginning,
just
and
cut like one in the middle, and then one at the end.
Yeah, but now it's like every 10 minutes it's a commercial.
That's why I don't watch it. I don't use Tubi anymore.
Unfortunately, you got Peacock is really coming together with a lot of good movies.
They are a lot of new movies.
Paramount Plus has a lot of horror, and Hulu has a lot of horror. But you know, it's three. And Shudder.
And Paramount Plus just announced that they want to start like a horror line kind of thing because they had Smile do so well, they had Orphan do so well, and they had something else I can't remember, but they had 3 movies this past year. I think maybe it was Scream 5.
Yeah.
So now they're gonna they hired that Walter Hamada from DC who just left DC, right. The DCU EU shit. He's supposed to take over the horror stuff for them. So I love to hear other companies want
Smile, I thought. Did you ever see Smile?
Dude, it's so good.
I love Smile. I thought
it was so good, bro. Smile. That's Kevin Bacon's daughter, the main chick. I didn't even
really? I didn't realize that either.
That one I was gonna just get it on Blu-ray, and my brother's like, "Dude, it's."
I mean, you gotta do that in Dylan's at some point. And
I am.
And the way they left that open, you know, there's gonna be a sequel. And that movie did.
That shit is so. That was I thought it was just gonna be run of the mill, same shit I've seen before. It blew me away.
Yeah, there's a lot of horror. There's a lot of horror coming out now. I mean, look at what's coming out. I saw that. They have that Megan that looks terrible. That's like PG-13. Yeah. That looks horrible. That's
gonna be if it was rated R, maybe it'd be.
Yeah, but they have that movie coming out with the Bones and All. Did you see the preview?
That looks really good.
That starts this week. That looks interesting.
And that's got the main guy, Anthony Chalamet or whatever from Dune. He's in that.
Mm-hmm.
That looks really good.
They got Violent Night, which is more of a Die Hard, but it looks like it has some horror elements to it. And then you got that movie that I didn't think was a horror movie, but it looks like a horror movie to me. Is that movie The Menu? With
it's supposed to be like a somewhat of a horror movie. I believe.
I think that is a horror movie. I've heard great things.
Even what was it? That Don't Worry, Darling just came out on HBO Max. That has like horror elements to it too, but it almost comes off as like a weird love thing. But it has more like Stepford Wives, like you know what I mean, like that creepy element to it.
Yeah,
Timothy Chalamet is his name, not Anthony Chalamet. Good looks up.
Yeah, I think Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, it's Timothy. I fucked that
up.
But
the menu looks really, really good. That looks like something I might even.
That does look cool, man. It looks like it's going to be intriguing. At first,
believe it or not, I
love Ralph Fiennes.
I think I'm going to skip. I think I might skip Wakanda and go see The Menu. Actually,
do it, dude. If you already didn't see Wakanda. You probably don't even have to because it'll probably be on Disney Plus.
It's going to be coming on Disney Plus in a couple weeks. I might wait.
I can't wait for that Guardians holiday special.
Yeah.
That's in a few days.
So there's a lot of good horror stuff is really taking off. A lot of good horror stuff coming out. Man.
I can't wait. Now I really want to watch Smile again, dude.
And did you tell people now we got in Dylan's horror show in the end of the year? We got probably 3 movies coming up that me and Dylan really like that may not go over well with some of the other people on the board.
That's the beginning of that's the beginning of the year.
Did you announce those movies yet?
That's the beginning of the year.
Beginning of the year. Did you announce those yet or no?
It doesn't matter. You could tell them. and it's
We
good.
got Terrifier. You got Terrifier 1 and 2.
To start the first show of January 2023.
And the second one is an 80s Italian zombie horror movie called Burial Ground.
And boy, they're gonna
And
fucking really.
boy, Burial Ground's gonna have some interesting conversation. I'll tell you that much.
I can't wait, dude. Dude, I think they're both gonna have some interesting, especially with how Robbie
I know
feels about
Robbie
Terrifier.
didn't like Terrifier.
I
A lot of
cannot
people-
believe it.
And a lot of people, I think what it is about Terrifier is with Terrifier, because it has a lot of excesses, I think, in the gore.
Yeah.
You have to be a practical effects fan,
Definitely.
maybe even more so than a horror film fan, to really appreciate. I mean, part of that movie, the fact is that I love that as a horror movie, but I loved it more as the fact that this guy made this movie for so cheap and looks so good.
So cheap. Dude, he made it for like $5,000 or some crazy shit, bro.
Well, I think I talk about the second one. I think he made for like $20,000 something.
Okay, maybe it was 40,000. I think,
yeah.
I'm wrong. It was like 40,000 he
Yeah,
made.
but and he did go overboard. I think the movie's a little long. It has flaws.
But dude, for him to only make it with 40 grand, that's insane, bro.
Yeah, that's nuts. So
people are making movies with $20 million, $50 million. You know what I mean?
And you get the movie made a lot of money back,
bro, on this one.
Yeah, and I think too that we'll see. I mean, and there are elements of the story in the second one. I think a lot more than the first, and you can see the bringing it out to become kind of like a trilogy, to become an iconic.
I think this is like the start of a trilogy between him and like this chick. And I think that
and the kid.
I think them being and the kid, and then them being able to like put it back in theaters again for another run, and they made it. I think they probably made at least 10 million, bro, at least. And
it was like 7 million last time I checked. So
and that was like 1 week's worth of showing. So it's like, if he made this movie with 40 grand. I think him maybe getting a piece of those he's probably not getting much, but if he's getting a piece of that, that's really going to help him move forward with 3 and 4.
The movie was coming out was going to come out on Blu-ray with an individual. Now it's coming out in 4K.
I can't believe it's getting a 4K.
You can tell that the movie did well and that they're happy with it.
It's so good, bro.
I'm looking forward to January. The first 2 weeks going to be killer. Going to be some interesting discussions. So
I cannot wait, dude.
Join Dylan for that on Saturday night. And I want to thank everybody.
Have some fun.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming in and watching that. Make sure you tune in about a half an hour or so for Robbie doing Godfather 2.
Hell yeah, and we'll keep you posted about that Twilight Zone show. That's in the works.
Yeah, hopefully sometime coming in after the first of the year, we'll get that up and running and do that. So that should be it. If we do that, it'll probably be like 4 episodes. We'll review them, we'll talk about them, and then we'll
our episodes, breaking down like 4 of the episodes per show.
The half an hour ones we'll do 4, and the hour ones maybe we'll do 2.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about them, we'll rate them against each other and see how you like them. So, thank everybody for doing that. Hey, and everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your turkey. Make sure it doesn't fucking kill you, which it could do.
Hell yeah.
And we'll see you next week for The Last Starfighter. Peace out, everybody.
Peace
out. Have a good one.